Hello there. It's also here, and we're gonna be reading the book Brave New World, a graphic novel. So it's a comic book, and it was created by Aldous Huxley, the original story from 1934, I guess, and adapted and illustrated by Fred Fordham. Fordham. Um, all right. So what I think I know about this book is that it's dystopia where people are controlled by pleasure and happiness, and it's gonna make a reference to drugs and everything like that. It's very often referenced with 1984. Oh, he also made a graphic novel version of the Kill a Mockingbird and the Adventures of John Blake. There we go. All right. Okay. So we can start now. Hug me till you drug me. Ending's better than mending. Obstacle golf. Central London Hatchery and Conditioning Center. Community, identity, stability. As director of this facility, I always make a point of personally conducting new students on tour of the various departments. Just to give you a general idea. For a general idea, you must have if you are to do your work intelligently, albeit as little of one as possible. If you are to be good and happy members of society, particulars, not generalities, make for virtue and happiness. Not philosophers but Fred Sawyers and stamp collectors compose the backbone of society. And this is the fertilizing room. Happy. Tomorrow you'll be settling down to serious works. You won't have time for generalities. Meanwhile, I shall begin at the beginning. These are the incubators, the week's supply of OVA. They are kept at blood heat, whereas the male gametes have to be kept at 35 instead of 37. But full blood heat sterilizes. Rams wrapped in thermogen, vaginal lambs. The modern fertilizing process begins, of course, with a surgical procedure. Procedure. This is undergone voluntarily for the good of society, not to mention the fact that it carries a bonus amounting to 6 months' salary. Once counted and inspected for abnormalities, the ova are then immersed in a warm bouillon containing free-swimming spermatozoa. The fertilized ova are then returned to the incubators. Alphas and betas remain until definitely bottled, while gammas, deltas, and epsilons are removed, again after 36 hours, to undergo Volkanovsky process. This being the mass production of identical twins and one of the major instruments of social stability. Standard, standardized men and women in uniform batches, an entire factory staffed with the products of a single Volkanovsky-fied egg. The principle of this assembly line at last applied to biology. Progress. Mr. Foster, can you tell us the record number of individuals for a single vary? 16,012 in the center. In 189 batches of identicals. They've done much better than some overseas centers. Still, we mean to beat them if we can. That's the spirit I like. Come along with us, Mr. Foster, and give the students the benefit of your expert knowledge. With pleasure. The social predestinators send their figures to the fertilizers, who give them the embryos they ask for. And the bottles come in here to be predestined in detail, after which they are sent down to the embryo store, where we now proceed ourselves. Boop. Embryos are like photograph film, they can only stand redlined. The embryos travel for 267 days at 8 meters a day before finally seeing daylight in the recanting room. But in the invernal, we've managed to do a lot to them. Oh, a very great deal. That's what I like. That's the spirit I like. There you can see the reservoir of blood surrogate on which our embryos feed. T for male, circle for female. Of course, who can tell me what the question mark signifies? Free Martin, sir. Quite so. For of course, in the vast majority of cases, fertility is merely a nuisance. Those decanted as free martins are structurally quite normal but sterile. And we do not content ourselves with merely hatching out embryos. Any cow can do that. We also predestine and condition. We decant our babies as socialized human beings, as alphas or epsilons, as future sewage workers or future directors of hatcheries. Down here, we condition them to thrive on that for which they are predestined, and our colleagues upstairs teach them to love it. And that is the secret of happiness and virtue, liking what you've got to do. 10 to 3. We must go up to the hypnopedia nurseries before the children have finished their afternoon sleep. Thank you for your time, Mr. Foster. Infant nurseries conditioning. Da-da-da-da-da. New Pavlovian. Watch carefully. Beep. Observe. Beep. And now we proceed to rubbing a lesson with a mild electric shock. Beep. Bzz. We can electrify that whole strip of floor. They'll grow up with an instinctive hatred of books and flowers, a loaf of intellectual pursuits and of nature, perfect for factory work. You see? Perfect deltas. Come. Once upon a time, while our Ford was still on Earth, there was a little boy called Ruben Rabinovich. Ruben was the child of Polish-speaking parents. You know what Polish is, I suppose? A dead language, like French or German. And parent? Well, it is science, after all, not smut. Human being used to be, well, they used to be viviparous. Quite right. And when they were decanted, born, well, then they were the parents. I mean, not the babies, of course, the other ones. In short, the parents were the father and the mother. Mother. Hypnopedia. These are unpleasant facts, I know, but then most historical facts are unpleasant. Returning to little Reuben. Little Reuben, in whose room one evening, by an oversight, his father and mother happened to leave the radio turned on. For you must remember that in those days of gross viviparous reproduction, children were always brought up by their parents and not in state conditioning centers. Next morning, to the astonishment of his father and mother, little Reuben woke up reciting a long lecture by that curious old writer George Bernard Shaw, one of the very few whose works have been permitted to come down to us. The lecture was, of course, perfectly incomprehensible to the child, and so his parents, thinking he'd gone mad, sent for a doctor. He fortunately understood English and recognized the discourse as that which Shaw had broadcasted the previous evening. The principle of sleep teaching, or hypnopedia, had been discovered. The case of little Reuben occurred only 23 years after our Ford's first T model was put on the market. Many, many years were to elapse before the principle was usefully applied. The early experimenters thought that hypnopedia could be made an instrument of intellectual education, whereas if they would only start with moral education which ought never, in any circumstances, to be rational. What's the lesson this afternoon? We had elementary sex for the first 40 minutes, but now it's switched to elementary class consciousness. All wear green, and Delta children all wear khaki. Oh no, I don't want to play with Delta children, and Epsilons are still worse. They are too stupid to be able to read or write. Besides, they wear black, which is such a beastly color. To inculcate the more complex courses of behavior, there must be words, words without reason, the greatest moralizing and socializing force of all time. The mind that judges and desires and decides all one's life long made up of these suggestions, our suggestions. I do love flying. I do love having new clothes. We always throw away old clothes. Main day shift of duty. Second day shift takeover. Main day shift off. Duty second. Day shift takeover. Main day shift off duty. Second day shift takeover. Better changing rooms. Men's changing rooms. Linus is next to Fort Linus. It's strange to think that even in our fourth day, most games were played without more apparatus than a ball or two and a few sticks and perhaps a bit of netting. Imagine the folly of allowing people to play complex games which do nothing whatever to increase consumption. It's madness. Nowadays, the controllers won't approve of any new game unless it can be shown that it requires at least as much apparatus as the most complicated existing games. What is the matter? Nothing much, it's just that this little boy seems rather reluctant to join in the ordinary erotic play. I didn't mean to hurt him or anything, honestly. Of course you didn't, dear. And so I'm taking him to see the assistant superintendent of psychology just to see if it's anything at all abnormal. Quite right, take him. What I'm going to tell you now may sound incredible, but for a very long period before our Ford, and even for some generations afterward, erotic play between children had been regarded as abnormal. No, not only abnormal but immoral. But what happened? What were the results? The results were terrible. Hello, Fanny. Who are you going out with tonight? Oh, hello, Nenina. Nobody. Nobody? I've been feeling rather out of sorts lately. Dr. Wells advised me to have a pregnant substitute. He says that a 3 months pregnant substitute now will make all the difference to my health for the next 3 or 4 years. Well, I hope he's right, but do you really mean to say that for the next 3 months you're not supposed to? Oh no, dear, only for a week or two. That's all I suppose you're going out. Who with? Henry Foster. Again? You mean to tell me you're still going out with Henry Foster? It's only about 4 months I've been having Henry. Terrible. Controller, what an unexpected pleasure. Children, what are you thinking of? This is the resident controller for Western Europe, his fortship Mustafa Mond. You will all remember, I suppose, that beautiful and inspiring saying of our fort's history is bank. History is bank. Only for Mons. I like that, and there's been nobody else except Henry all that time, has there? No, there hasn't been anyone else. I really do think you ought to be careful. It's such horrible bad form to go on and on like this with one man. That's why you're taught no history, but now the time has come. It is all right, director. I won't corrupt them. You know how strongly the director objects to anything intense or long drawn. 4 months of Henry Foster without having another man. Why, he would be fierce if he knew. Just try to realize it. Try to realize what it was like to have a viviparous mother. There's no need to give him up. Have somebody else from time to time. That's all he has other girls, doesn't he? Of course. Try to imagine what living with one's family meant. Of course he does. Trust Henry Foster to be the perfect gentleman, always correct. A few small rooms. stiflingly over inhabited by a man, by a periodically teeming woman, by a rabble of boys and girls of all ages. You ought to be a little more promiscuous. Somehow I haven't been feeling very keen on promiscuity lately. No air, no space, an under-sterilized prison, darkness, disease, and smells. But one's got to make the effort, Lenina. After all, everyone belongs to everyone else. Yes, everyone belongs to everyone else. And physically, their home was a rabbit hole, a midden, hot with the frictions of tightly packed life, reeking with emotion. What suffocating intimacies, what dangerous, insane, obscene relationships between members of the family group. You are quite right, Fanny. As usual, I'll make the effort. Maniacally, the mother brooded over her children like a cat over its kittens, but a cat that could talk, a cat that could say, my baby, and oh, oh, at my breast, the little hands, the hanger, and that unspeakable agonizing pleasure. You, yes, you may well shudder. To tell the truth, I'm beginning to get just a tiny bit bored with nothing but Henry every day. Do you know Bernard Marx? Going to tell the Phillies tonight, Harry. I hear the new one at the Alhambra is first rate. There's a love scene of a Bergsin rug. They say it's marvelous, the most amazing texture effect. I'll make a point of going. Our Ford, or our Freud, as it's for some incrustable reason, he chose to call himself whenever he spoke of psychological matters, had been the first to reveal the appalling dangers of family life. Lenina, you don't mean to say? Why not Bernards and Alpha Plus? Lenina Crowley. Oh, she's a splendid girl, wonderfully empathic. I'm surprised I haven't had her. Mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, but there were also husbands, wives, lovers, there were also monogamy and romance. I can't think how it is I haven't, I certainly will at the first opportunity. Yes, I really do advise you to try her. Everyone belongs to everyone else. He asked me to go to one of the savage reservation with him. I've always wanted to go to a savage reservation. But his reputation? They say he spends most of his time by himself, alone. Everywhere, exclusiveness mother, my love, my baby. No wonder those poor pre-moderns were mad and weak and miserable. But he's so ugly. I rather like his looks. Their world didn't allow them to take things easily, didn't allow them to be sane, virtuous, happy. But he's so small. They say someone made a mistake when he was still in the bottle, put alcohol into his blood surrogate. That's why he's so stunned. What nonsense. What with mothers and lovers? What with the prohibitions they were not conditioned to obey? What with the temptations and lonely remorses? Penny's a nice girl too. Not nearly as pneumatic as Lenina. Oh, not nearly. What with all the disease and endless isolating pain? You are hopeless, Lenina. I give you up. What with the uncertainties and poverty they were forced to feel strongly? And feeling strongly and in hopelessly individual isolation. How could they be stable? One of these days you get into trouble. Crying, my baby, my mother, my only love. Groaning, my sin, my terrible God. Screaming with pain, muttering with fever, bemoaning old age and poverty. Do I look alright? Perfect. Love having new clothes. We always throw away old clothes. Fortunate youth. No pains have been spared to make your lives emotionally easy, to preserve you, so far as possible, from having any emotions at all. I do love having you. Our ancestors were so short-sighted that when the first reformers came along and offered to deliver them from those horrible emotions, they wouldn't have anything to do with them. Is better than mending, is better than mending. Note to ectogenesis, there was something called Christianity. Women were forced to go on being viviparous. Sleep teaching was prohibited. There was something called liberalism, speeches about liberty of the subject. Freedom to be a brown peg in a square hole. And the caste system, constantly proposed, constantly rejected. There was something called democracy, as though humans being were more than psychochemically equal. He does look glum. Let's bait him. Then the 9 Years' War began. In AF 141 phosgene, chloropicrin, ethyl iodoacetate, diphenylcysteine, tricholometryl. Gloom marks. Gloom. What you need is a groom of soma. Chloroformate. Dichlorodictyl sulfide. Hydrocyanic acid. The more stitches, the less riches. The more stitches, the great economic collapse. Choice between word control and destruction. Ending is better than mending. Ending is better than mending. Liberalism was dead of anthrax. No, thank you. Psst, psst. There was conscription of consumption. Every man, woman, and child compelled to consume. Boop, boop. Take it, take it. Conscious objection on enormous scales. Anything not to consume. Back to culture. You can consume much if you sit still and read. 800 simple lifers mowed down by machine guns at Golden Green. The famous British Museum massacre. 2,000 cultures sent gas with dichloroethylsulfide sulfide. I love new clothes, I love new clothes, I love new clothes. Accompanied by a campaign against the past, by the closing of museums, the blowing up of historic monuments, suppression of all books published before AF 150. No, thank you. They were something called pyramids. A man called Shakespeare. A coin is better than them. A thing called heaven. A thing called soul. A thing called immortality. Enormous quantities of alcohol, morphine, and cocaine. Damn you. In the end, the controllers realized that force was no good. The slower but infinitely surer methods of echnogenesis, neo-Pavlovian conditioning, and hypnopedia were at least made use of. And now we have the word of state, and Ford's Day celebrations, and community sings, and solidarity service. Damn you, damn you. In AF 178, 2,000 pharmacologists and biochemists were subsidized. Hoity toity. 6 years later, it was being produced commercially. Idiots. Euphoric, narcotic, pleasantly hallucinant. The perfect drug. Soma. All the advantages of Christianity and alcohol, none of their defects. Take a holiday from reality whenever you like, and come back without so much as a headache or a mythology. Ford's in his flavor. All's well with the world. Bing, bing. Bernard, I was looking for you. I want to talk to you about our New Mexico plan. I would simply love to come with you for a week in July. Hadn't we better talk about it somewhere else? What on earth for? I mean, with all these people about how funny you are. You'll give me at least a week's notice, won't you? Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon. I suppose we take the Blue Pacific rocket. Does it start from the charging tower, or is it Hampstead? Isn't it beautiful? Simply perfect for obstacle golf. And now I must fly, Bernard. Henry gets cross if I keep him waiting. Let me know in good time about the date. I should say she was pretty. Pneumatic too. But I say, you do look glum. What you need is a gram of... But I say, whatever can be the matter with the fellow? Must be true what they say about the alcohol in his blood surrogate. Touch his brain, I suppose. 4 minutes late. What a hideous color khaki is my word. I'm glad I'm not a Delta. Propaganda house. Tell Mr. Half Moss Watson that Mr. Bernard Marx is waiting for him on the road. I heard that short man asking for him just now. He secretly says he's every centimeter the Alpha Plus. His secretary says he's every centimeter the Alpha Plus. Bing. And of the best emotion engineers. He's written countless fillies, wonderful knack for slogans and hypnomatic rhymes. Escalator squash champion, too. Apparently he's had over 600 different girls in just the last 4 years. Oh, Helmholtz, darling. Do come join us for a picnic on Exmoor. No, no, no. Oh, do come. It'll be such. No, I'm busy. We aren't inviting any other men. This woman, too awful. Awful. I'm taking Lena Crowley to New Mexico with me. Are you? This last week or two, I've been cutting all my committees and all my girls. You can imagine what a hula balu they've been making about it at the college. Still, it's been worth it, I think. The fact, well, they are odd, very odd. Do you ever feel as though you had something inside you that was only waiting for it to give it a chance to come out? Some sort of extra power that you aren't using. You know, like all the water that goes down the falls instead of going through the turbines. You mean all the emotions one might be feeling if things were different? Not quite. I'm thinking of a queer feeling. I sometimes get that I've got something important to say and the power to say it, only I don't know what it is, and I can't make any use of the power. If there was something different of writing, or else something else to write about. You see, I'm pretty good at inventing phrases, the sort of words that suddenly make you jump, that seem to so new and exciting, even though they're about something hypnopathically obvious. But that doesn't seem enough. I feel I could do something much more important, yes, and more intense and more violent. But what? And how can one be violent about the sort of things one is expected to write about? Can you make words really piercing when you're writing about a community thing or the latest improvement in scent organs? Can you say something about nothing? That's what it finally boils down to. I'll try and I'll try. I'm sorry. I suppose I got things on my nerves a bit. If you knew what I had to put up with recently, if you only knew. Anyway, I would best be going. It's my solidarity service this evening at the Fortson Community Singering. Everyone's happy now. Holophone. Yay, well done you. Fortson Community Center. Ha 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 ha. Solidarity service. Welcome, Bernard. Obstacle. Everyone win. What were you playing this afternoon? Obstacle or electromagnetic? Neither. The group is now complete. The solidarity circle perfect and without flaw. Calvison stops. 12 ready to be made. One waiting to come together, to be fused, to lose their 12 separate identities in a larger being. Ford, we are 12. Oh, make us one, like drops within the social river. Oh, make us now together run as swiftly as thy shining flicker. Boom, 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 boom. I drink to the greater being. Come, greater being, social friend, annihilating 12 in one. We long to die for when we end, our larger life has but begun. Feel how the greater being comes, rejoice and rejoice die. Melt in the music of the drums, for I am you and you are I. Drink to the imminence of the coming, of his coming. Oh Ford, 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 Ford. Listen, listen, the feet of the great being, the feet of the great being, the feet of the great being are on the stairs. I hear him, he's coming. Yes, he's coming, I hear him. Oh, he's coming. Oh, he's coming. Ay, yeah. I hear him. He's coming. He's coming. Argy pargy. 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 Fart and fun. Argy pargy. Fart and fun. Kiss the girl and makes them one. Boys at one. Girls at peace. Orgy party, girls release. Wasn't wonderful? Quite wonderful. He's just so odd, odd, odd. Bernard, I've had half a mind to cancel our New Mexico holiday and go inside to the North Pole with Benito Hoover. Oh yes. Trouble is I went to the North Pole with George Edsel last summer and found the place pretty grim. But the prospect of the Sabbath reservation is very inviting, and Bernard is one of the few men I know entitled to a permit. But then at least Benito's normal. You can teach a rhinoceros tricks. Some men are almost rhinoceroses. They don't respond properly to conditioning. Poor devils, Bernard's one of them. Luckily for him, he's pretty good at his job, otherwise the director would never have kept him. However, I think he's pretty harmless. Community, identity, stability. Oh, Bernard. Lenina, It's a beautiful afternoon. I wonder if you'd like to join me for a swim at Torquay. Too crowded, I should think, on a day like this. Then, what about a round of electromagnetic golf at St. Andrews? Electromagnetic golf is such a waste of time. Then, what's time for? Let's go for a walk in the lake, district alone. But Bernard, we all shall be alone all night. I meant alone for talking. Talking? But what about? Tell you what, let's go to Amsterdam. Fanny has spare tickets to the same damn finals of the Women's Heavyweight Wrestling Championship. The Women's Heavyweight Wrestling Championship. It'll be so fun. I'll go talk to her right away. Meet you on the roof? Round 3. A gram in time saves 9. I'd rather be myself. Myself and nasty. 1 cubic centimeter cures 10 glum sentiments. Oh, for Ford's sake, be quiet. Bernard, why we've stopped? Look. But it's horrible. Let's put some music on. Wait, I want to look at the sea in peace. It's horrible. It makes me feel as though I were more me, if you see what I mean, not just a cell in the social body. Doesn't it make you feel like that, Lenina? Don't you wish you were free? I am free, free to have the most wonderful time. Everybody's happy. Yes, everybody's happy now. We begin giving children that at 5. But wouldn't you like to be free and happy in some other way, Lenina? If your own way, for example, not in everybody else's way. I don't know what you mean. You were saying the most awful things. Oh, do let's go back, Bernard. I do so hate it here. I thought it would be more together here, with nothing but the sea and moon. More together than in that crowd, or even in my rooms. Don't you understand that? I don't understand anything, nothing. Least of all why you don't take someone you have these dreadful ideas of yours. All right, we'll go back. Feeling better? Ha 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 ha. Well, did you think it was fun? Mm-hmm. Everyone says I'm awfully pneumatic, awfully. But you don't think I'm too plump, do you? No. You think I'm alright in every way? Perfect. All the same. I'll still rather it ended differently. Differently. I didn't want it to end with our going to bed. Not at once, not the first day. But then what? I like to try the effect of arresting my impulses. Never put off till tomorrow the fun you can have today. 200 repetitions twice a week, from 14 to 16 and a half. I want to know what passion is. I want to feel something strongly. When the individual feels, the community reels. Well, why shouldn't reel a bit, Bernard? We are adults actually intellectually and during working hours. Infants where our feelings and desires are concerned. I don't understand. I know you don't. That's why we went to bed together yesterday. But it was fun, wasn't it? Oh, the greatest fun. Community, identity, stability. I'll permit for you to initial director. For the New Mexico reservation. That's right. I had the same idea when I was your age. It must be 25 years ago now. It must be 25 years ago now. I went to have a look at the Savage, got a permit for New Mexico, and went there for summer holiday. With the girl I was having at the moment, she was a beta minus, and I think she had yellow hair. Anyway, she was Panamatic, particularly Panamatic, I remember that. Well, we went there, and we looked at the savages, and we wrote about horses and all that, and then it was almost the last day of my leave then. Well, she got lost. We'd gone riding up one of those revolting mountains, and it was horribly hot and oppressive, and after lunch we went to sleep. Or at least I did. She must have gone for a walk, alone. At any rate, when I woke up she wasn't there, and the most frightful thunderstorm I'd ever seen was just bursting upon us. It powered and whirred and flashed. The horses broke loose and ran away. I searched and shouted and unsearched. She must have fallen into a gully somewhere or been eaten by a mountain lion, Ford knows. It upset me very much at the time, more than I ought to have done, I dare say, because after all it is the sort of accident that could have happened to anyone, and of course the social body persists through though the component cells may change. I actually dream about it sometimes, dream of being working by that peal of thunder and finding her gone. You must have had a terrible shock. Don't imagine that I'd had any indecorous relation with the girl, nothing emotional, nothing long drawn. It was all perfectly healthy and normal. I really don't know why I bored you with this type of anecdote, and I should like to take this opportunity, Mr. Marks, of saying that I'm not at all pleased with the reports of your behavior outside working hours. You may say this is none of my business, but I have the good name of the center to think of. My workers must be above suspicion, particularly those of the highest castes. Alphas are so conditioned that they do not have to be infantile in their emotional behavior, but that's it all the more reason for their making a special effort to comfort. It is their duty to be infantile, even against their inclination. And so, Mr. Marks, I give you a fair warning. If I ever hear again of any lapse from a proper standard infantile decorum, I shall ask for your transference to a SIP center, preferably to Iceland. Good morning. Ha ha ha, no doubt you taught me a lesson. But I felt positively elated. I felt significant. Besides, Iceland's an empty threat. People are interested for things like that. So I simply told him to go to the bottomless past and marched out of the room. And that was that. Blue Pacific Terminal. Port to New Orleans connects to New Mexico. 560,000 square kilometers divided into four distinct sub-reservations, each surrounded by a high-tension wire fence, supplied with current from the Grand Canyon Hydroelectric Station. Upwards of 5,000 kilometers of fence at 60,000 volts. You don't say so. To touch the fencing is instant death. There is no escape from a savage reservation. Those who are born in the reservation remember that children still are born. Yes, actually born, revolting as they may seem. Those who are born in the reservation are destined to die there. Message from Hell Modes. Thought I should let you know. DHC looking for someone to replace you. Mention Iceland. Sorry to bring you bad news on your hose. You don't say so. Young lady, I do say so. No communication whatever with the civilized world. Still preserve their repulsed habits and customs. Marriage, families, monstrous superstitions, Christianity, totemism, ancestors' worship. Instinct language, furious animals, infectious disease, priests, venomous lizards. You don't say so. Okay, I'll do a pause. What's the matter? I'm going to be sent to Iceland. You don't say. The director threatened, but I didn't take him seriously. I even welcomed the prospect of a chance to endure some hardship, some pain, some affliction. What a fool I was. Iceland, Iceland. Was and will make me ill. I take a gram and only am. We are approaching the innermost perimeter. They never learn, and they never will learn. Malpe, this is the rest house. I'll show you to your guide. There's a dance this afternoon at the Pueblo. He'll take you there. Should be funny. Back tomorrow, and remember, you're perfectly tame savage. They've got enough experience of gas bombs to know when they mustn't play any tricks. I wish you could have brought the plane. I hate walking. What a wonderfully intimate relationship, and what an intensity of feeling It must generate. Bernard, how can you? What's the matter with him? Old? He's old, that's all. Old? But the director's old. Lots of people are old. They're not like that. That's because we don't allow it. We don't permit their magnesium calcium ratio to fall below what it was at 30. We give them the transfusions of young blood. We keep their metabolism permanently stimulated. Youth almost unimpaired till 60, and then crack the end. But how do you live like this? We ought not to have came here. Boom, 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 boom. Check, check, check. Too awful, too awful. Hello, good morrow. You're civilized, aren't you? Who on earth? You come from the other place outside the reservation. Who are you? A most unhappy gentleman. You see that damned spot? I ought to have been there. They wouldn't let me be the sacrifice. They could have had twice as much blood from me. The multitudinous sins incarnadine. Do you mean to say what you want to be hit with that whip? For the sake of the pueblo, and to please Pukong and Jesus, and then to show that I can bear pain without crying out, show that I'm a man, and and but who are you? My mother and I are strangers here. She came out with a man long ago before I was born. She went walking the mountains over there to the north, fell down a step, placing her head. Go on. Some hunters from Malpais found her and brought her to the pueblo. The man she was with must have flown away without her, a bad and kind of natural man, and so I was born Malpais. Would you like to meet my mother? Very much. Linda, coming. Oh, oh, my dear, my dear. If you knew how glad after all these years I thought I should never see a piece of real acetate silk again. I suppose John told you what I've had to suffer, not a gram of salmon to be had. Only a drink of mezcal every now and then, when Pope used to bring it. Pope is a boy I used to know, but it makes you feel so bad afterwards, the mezcal does. And I was so ashamed just to think of it. Me, a beta having a baby, put yourself in my place. I still don't know how it happened, seeing that I did all the Maltesian drill. And of course there wasn't anything like the Chelsea Abortion Center here. And how that lovely pink glass tower. And the river at night. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I remember how it used to upset me, how that dirt and nothing being aseptic. Civilization is sterilization. I used to tell them, and streptococci, to Bunbury it, to see a fine bath from Debussy, as though they were children. And this clothes, the beastly wool, isn't like acetate, it's less and less, and you're supposed to mend if it gets torn. The more stitches, the less riches. Isn't it right? Mending and social. It's like living with lunatics, everything they do is mad. For instance, take the way they have each other here. Everybody belongs to everyone else, don't they? Don't they? Well, here's nobody supposed to belong to more than one person. Why are they angry with you, Linda? Because I broke something. How could I know how to do their beastly weaving? Beastly savages. What are savages? And if you have people in the ordinary way, the other things, you are weak and unsocial. Go and play now, John. They hate and despise you. Once a lot of women came and made a scene because their men came to see me. Well, why not? No, it was too awful. I can tell you about it. They were so hateful. The women here, mad. Why did they want to hurt you, Linda? I don't know. How should I know? They said those men were their men. And of course, they don't know anything about mutation drill or bottles or decanting or anything of that sort. So they are having children all the time like dogs. It's too revolting. Oh, don't cry, Linda. Don't cry. Oh, be careful, my shoulder. And to think that I owe Ford, little idiot. And yet, John was a great comfort to me. I don't know what I should have done without him. Linda. Oh, mother, don't. I'm not your mother. I won't be your mother. Belinda, turning into savage, having young ones like an animal. There were happy times, weren't there, John? When I used to tell you about the civilized world, little beast, down, Linda, about pink and green, blue and silver houses as high as mountains, and everyone happy, and no one ever sad or cry, please, and everything belonging to everyone else, and no nasty smells, no dirt at all, and you can go flying whenever you like, whenever you like. I also listened to the old man of the Pueblo and heard about Awona Wilona, who made the word out of fog, of Earth Mother and Sky Father, and Ahayuta and Marsalaima, the twins of War and Chance of Jesus and Pulkong, of Mary and Itznalati, the woman who makes herself young again. At night I would lie in bed, think of heaven in London, Our Lady of Acoma, and the rows and rows of babies in clean bodies, and Jesus flying up, and Linda flying up, and the great dictator of word hatcheries, and Awa Wilona. I did manage to condition him a little. I taught him to read. The other boys were beastly to him. My mom kicked my bed out thanks to your whore of a mother. She's a drunken slut. Pope left something for you, a book. It was lying in one of the chests of the Antelope Kiva. It's supposed to have been there for hundreds of years. I expect it's true, because I looked at it and it seemed to be full of nonsense. Uncivilized. Still, it'll be good enough for you to practice in your reading one. Nay, but to live in the rank sweat of unseemly bed, stewed in corruption, hunting and making love over the nasty stile. One may smile and be a villain. Remorseless, treacherous, kindless villain. When he's drunk asleep, or in his rage, or in the incestuous pleasure of his bed. Once he tried to kill poor Husua, or was it Pope, just because I used to have them sometimes. I never could make him understand that was what civilized people ought to do. How would you like to come back to London with us? Do you really mean it? Of course, if I can get permission, that is. To think it should be coming true. What I've dreamed of all my life. Do you remember what Miranda says? Who's Miranda? Oh, wonder how many godly creatures are there here. How beauteous mankind is. Oh, brave new world. Oh, brave new world that has such people in it. You may have most peculiar way of talking sometimes. And anyhow, hadn't you better wait till you actually see the new world? I venture to think that your fortship might find it better of sufficient scientific interest. Yes, I do find it sufficient scientific interest, bringing these two individuals back to London with you. Your fortship is aware that I shall need a special permit. The necessary orders are being sent to the warden of the reservation at this moment. Good morning, Mr. Marks. Mr. Marks, we have just received special orders. I know, I was talking to the controller a moment ago. Miss Crown's gone on summer holiday, can hardly be back before 5. You are 15. Now I may teach you to work the clay. First of all, we make a little moon. A moon, a cup, and now a snake. Then another snake, and another. Ha 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 ha. The next one will be better. Next winter I'll teach you how to make the bow. Alone, always alone. So am I, terribly alone. Are you? I thought that in the other place, Linda always said that nobody was ever alone there. I am rather different from most people, I suppose. If one happens to be the kind of different. Yes, that's just it. If one's different, one's bound to be lonely. When the other boys were sent out to spend the night on the mountains, when you have to dream which your sacred animal is, they wouldn't let me go. Wouldn't let me go. I did it myself though. Didn't eat anything for 5 days and then went out of night alone in the mountains. And did you dream of anything? Yes, but I mustn't tell you what. Once I did something that I none of the others did. I stood on a rock in the middle of the day, in summer, with my arms out, like Jesus on the cross. What on earth for? I wanted to know what it was like being crucified, hanging there in the sun. But why? Why? Well, because I felt I ought to, if Jesus could stand it. Besides, I was unhappy. That was another reason. It seems a funny way of curing your unhappiness. Her eyes, her hair, her cheek, her gait, her voice, hand lost in thy discourse. Oh, that her hand, in whose compares all whites are ink, writing their own reproach, to whose soft seizure the side nets down is harsh. On the white wonder of dear Juliet's hand may cease and still immortal blessing from her lips, who even in pure and best of modesty is still blush as thinking their one kiss a sin. How beautiful she is! Detestable thought. Zip. Embryo Starlipus, Beta only face screen. 1,250 kilometers an hour. What do you think of that, Mr. Savage? Very nice. Still, Ariel could put a girdle around the Earth in 40 minutes. Huh? Nothing. Message from the director of hatcheries, Mr. Marks, to report to the fertilizer room tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. to meet with the EAT. Message ends. Have a great day. A public example in this room, because it contains more high caste workers than any other in the center. I have told him to meet me here at 2:30. He does his work very well. I know, but that's all the more reason for severity. High intellectual eminence carries with it corresponding moral responsibilities. Consider the matter dispassionately, Mr. Foster, and you'll see that no offense is so heinous and orthodox of behavior. Murder kills only the individual, and after all, what is an individual? An orthodoxy strikes at society itself. Good morning, Director. You asked me to come and speak to you. Yes, Mr. Marks, you returned from your holiday last night. I understand. Yes, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, excuse me for thus interrupting your labors. A painful, dirty duty constrains me. The security and stability of society are in danger. Yes, in danger, ladies and gentlemen. This man, this man who stands before you here, this Alpha Plus to whom so much has been given, and from whom is consequent so much must be expected. This colleague of yours has grossly betrayed the trust imposed in him, by his heretical views on sport and soma, by the scandalous unorthodox of his sex life, by his refusal to obey the teachings of our Ford and behave out of office hours like a babe in a bottle. He has proved himself an enemy of society, a subverter, ladies and gentlemen, of all order and stability, a conspirator against the civilization itself. For this reason I propose to dismiss him with ignominy from the post he has held in the center, in Iceland, in a sub-center, or the lowest order. He will have small opportunity to lead others astray by his unfortunate example. Marx, can you show any reason why I should not execute the judgment passed upon you? Yes, I can. One moment. It's just in the passage. There he is, Linda. Do you think I didn't recognize him? Of course I knew you. To Mankin. I should have known you anywhere among 1,000. Don't you remember me, the Mankin? You're Linda? The Mankin? Don't you remember? What is the meaning of this monstrous practical joke? The Mankin. I'm Linda. I'm Linda. Ha 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 ha. You made me have a baby. Yes, a baby, and I was its mother. It was my fault, Monkey, if you knew how awful, but he was a great comfort to me all the same. John, mother, Linda. My father. Ha 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 ha. My father. Oh, Ford, too good, too good. Bernard Savage Soave. And I had 6 girls last week, one on Monday, two on Tuesday, two more on Friday, and one on Saturday. And there were at least a dozen more who were only too anxious. You're envious. I'm rather sad, that's all. Up to 20 grams a day, you say she's been taking. Who's to blame her? Her song's been a tremendous hit, of course, but Linda, well, who wants to see a fat, blotchy old thing with missing teeth, a mother? She's not even strictly a real savage. She was hatched from a bottle and conditioned just like everyone else. So her return to civilization means more along some holiday, has it? Well, it's finished her off in a month or two. One day the respiratory center will be paralyzed, no more breathing. Good thing, too. In any case, upping her dosage is only shortening her life in one sense. Some may make you lose a few years in time, but think of the enormous and miserable durations it can give you out of time. Every summer holiday is a bit of what our ancestors used to call it eternity. I'm very glad to have had this opportunity to see an example of senility in a human being. Thank you so much for coming in. For the attention of His Lordship Mustafa Mond, a report concerning the discovery of the savage John and his Linda by Bernard Marx. The savage shows surprisingly little astonishment at our awe of civilized inventions. This is partly due, no doubt, to the fact that he has heard them talked about by the woman Linda. The savage refuses to take summer and seems much distressed because the woman Linda remains permanently on summer holiday. It is worth of note that in spite of his senility and extreme repulsiveness of her appearance, the savage frequently goes to see her and appears too much attached to her. An interesting example of the way in which early conditioning can be made to modify and even run counter to natural impulses. In this case, the impulse to recoil from an unpleasant object. Does the fool think I'm too squeamish to see the word mother written out of a full length? Partly on his interest being focused on what he calls the soul, which he persists as regarding as an entity independent of the physical environment, whereas, as I tried to point out to him, ha, now listen to this. I must admit that I agree with the savage in finding civilized infantility too easy or, as he puts it, not expensive enough. The idea of this creature solemnly lecturing you about the social order really is too grotesque. You seem very pleased with yourself. I'm pleased Bernard has an expected engagement, and he's asked me if I would take the savage to the Phillies this evening. Lucky girl, you become rather celebrity, guest of honor at the Aphroditean Club, weekends with the arch community songster of Canterbury, now dates with the savage. And all because of that trip to the reservation. Now you must admit you were wrong about Bernard. Don't you think he's really rather sweet? I must say I was quite agreeably surprised. It's wonderful, of course, and yet, in a way, I feel as though I were getting something on false pretenses. Because the first thing everyone wants to know is what it's like to make love to a savage, and I have to say I don't know. They don't believe me, of course, but it's true. I wish I weren't. He's terribly good looking. But doesn't he like you? Sometimes I think he does, and sometimes I think he doesn't. He always does his best to avoid me, but sometimes I catch him staring, and then, well, you know how men look when they like you. Tonight, the Alhambra. 3 weeks in a helicopter. Take hold of those metal knobs on the arms of your chair, or you won't get any of the feel effects. 3 weeks in a helicopter. I don't think you ought to see things like that. Things like what, John? Like this horrible film. Horrible, but I thought it was lovely. It was based, it was ignoble. Ignoble. I don't know what you mean. Good night. But John, I thought you were. I mean, aren't you? Good night, Lenina. But everybody's there waiting for you. Let them wait. But you know quite well, John. I asked them on purpose to meet you. You ought to have asked me first whether I want to meet them. But you always came before, John. That's precisely why I don't want to come again. Just to please me. Won't you come to please me? No. But what should I do? Go to hell. But the art community songsters are tonight. ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I deeply regret to inform you that the savage will not be joining us this evening. He's temporarily indisposed and now please do help yourselves to champagne, Sergey. There's no need to. Ridiculous little man. Too bad, too bad. Our ex-director was actually on the point of transferring him to Iceland. It really is a bit thick when I think it, actually. My friends, I think perhaps the time has come. Must you really, Art Songster? It's very early still. I'd hoped you would. My young friend, let me give you a word of advice. Mind your ways, my young friend, mind your ways. Lenina, my dear, come with me. Oh, she doth teach me the torch to burn bright. It seems she hangs up the chunk of the night, like a rich jewel in an Ethiop's ear. Beauty's rich for use, for earth too dear. You're more like you were at Malpace. You remember when we first talked together? You're like what you were then. Because I'm unhappy again, that's why. Well, I'd rather be unhappy than have the sort of false lying happiness you were having there. I like that. When it's you, you were the cause of it all refusing to come to my party and turning them all against me. I've asked my strange friend to half months over. I think you get on here. To disapprove of all my recent, well, he appears to have forgiven me. In any case, he at least was sympathetic to my miserable tale. How Holds, you mad jumped savage. Good to see you again, John. You look uncommonly happy, Helmholtz. The principal threatened to hand me the immediate sack. I'm a market man. I was giving my usual lecture on the use of rhymes in moral propaganda and advertisement, and I thought this time I would give them one I'd written myself. Pure madness, of course, but I couldn't resist it. It was about being alone. I was trying to engineer them into feeling that what I had felt when I wrote the rhymes. Ford, what an outcry there was! I'll recite them to you if you like. Yesterday's committee sticks but a broken drum. Midnight in the city floats in a vacuum. Shut lips, sleeping faces, ever stop machine. The dumb and literal places where crowds have been. All silence rejoice, weep, loudly or low, speaks, but with the voice of whom I do not know. Well, I gave them that as an example, and they report me to the principal. I'm not surprised. It's flatly against all their sleep teaching. Remember, they've had at least a quarter of a million warnings against solitude. I know, but I thought I would like to see what the effect would be. Well, you've seen now. I feel as though I were just beginning to have something to write about, as though I were remembering to be able to use that power I feel I've got inside me. Listen to this. Let the bird up the loudest lay on the sole Arabian tree, herald sad and trump be, to whose sound chest wings obey. But you shrinking harbinger, foe procurer of the find, augur of the fever's end, to the shrub come thou not near. From the session interdict ever fall, of Taranka wing, save the eagle, feathery king, keep the obsequies so strict. Let the priest in surplice white, that the functive music can be the deaf dividing swam, lest the Reekian. Orgy porgy, orgy porgy, orgy porgy. It's just a solidary service hymn. Well, isn't it? Go on, John, please. And though treble dated crow, that thy stable gender mixed, boys at one weave, girls at please, argy pargy gives release. Bernard, if you interrupt again, you shall leave me no choice but to evict you from your own apartment by force. All right, listen to this, Romeo and Juliet. Is there is there no pity sitting in the clouds that sees into the bottom of my grief? Oh, sweet my mother, cast me no way. Delay this marriage for a month, a week, or, if you do not, make the bridal bed in that dim monument where Tybalt lies. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. I'm sorry, John. Ha ha ha. Sorry. It's just a mother forcing the daughter to marry someone. Absurd, smooth, of course, but irresistibly comical. And yet, oh my. And yet, I know quite well one need ridiculous and mad situations like that. One can't write really well about anything else. Why was that old fellow such a marvelous propaganda technician? Because he had so many insane, excruciating things to get excited about. You've got to be hurt and upset, otherwise you can't think of really good penetrating, X-rayish phrases, but fathers and mothers. You can expect me to keep a straight face about fathers and mothers, and who's going to get excited about a boy having a girl or not having her? No, I won't do. We need some other kind of madness and violence. But what? Like to come to a Philly this evening, Lenina. Not this evening. Going with someone else? No. You're not feeling well, are you? No. Anyhow, you ought to go and see the doctor. You may need a pregnant substitute or else an extra strong VIP's treatment. Sometimes, the standard passion surrogate isn't quite. Oh, for Fort's sake, shut up. Tap tap up. Hello, John. You don't seem very glad to see me. Not glad? Not glad? Oh, if only you knew. I admire Lena, indeed the top of admiration, worth what's dearest in the world. Oh, you're so perfect, and so peerless are created, of ever creature's best. That's why I want to do something first. I mean, to show I was worth of you, I want to do something. Why should you think it's necessary? At Malpais, you had to bring her the skin of a mountain lion. I mean, when you want to marry someone or else a wolf, there aren't any lions in England. And even if there were, people would kill them out of helicopters, I suppose, with poison gas or something. I'll do anything you tell me. There be some sports are painful, but their labor delight in them sets off. That's why I would sweep the floor if you wanted. We got about cleaners here. It isn't necessary. No, of course it isn't necessary, but some kinds of basins are nobly undergone. I like to undergo something nobly, don't you see? But if there are vacuum cleaners, that's not the point. So what do vacuum cleaners have to do with lions, or lions with being glad to see me? Listen, Lena, in Malpais people get married. Go what? For always. They make a promise to live together for always. What a horrible idea. All living beauties outward, with a mind that doth renew swifter than bloody decays. For God's sakes, John, talk sense. You're driving me crazy. Answer me this question. Do you really like me, or don't you? I love you more than anything in the world. Then why didn't you say so, instead of driveling about vacuum cleaners and lions and making me miserable for weeks? The murkiest den, the most opportune place, the strongest suggestion our overseer genius can, shall never melt mine honor into lust. You silly boy, I wanted you so much, and if you wanted me to, why didn't you? Lenina? Lenina, what are you doing? Darling, darling, if only you said so before. Put your hands around me. The strongest oaths are strode to the fire. I do the blood. Be more abstemious or else. Kiss me. Kiss me. Oh, John, what don't you? Whore! Whore! Oh, imprudent, strumpet, damned whore! What is? Please, go. A gram is better. Get out of my sight or I kill you. Yes, if I do not exert myself, I am. Yes, didn't you hear me say so? Mr. Savage speaking. What is serious? I'll go at once. Linda, mother. ABC, vitamin D, the fats in the liver, the cod's in the sea. The top eats in the top, the cat is on the mat. Oh, look, look, whatever is the matter with her? Why is she so fat? Look at her teeth, look. What are you doing? I won't have you striking the children. Well, then keep them away from this bed. What are these little brats doing there here at all? It's disgraceful. Disgraceful. They are being deaf conditioned. Any more interference with their condition, and I'll have you thrown out. Now, children, who wants a chocolate eclair? A, B, C, and vitamin D. Linda? Pope. Pope. Oh, I do so like it. I do. I'm John. I'm John. John? John. Everyone. Belongs to every. Can't you behave? You have said these poor children deaf conditions back months with this scandalous exhibition. Disgusting outcry, as though anyone matters much as all that. Give them the most disastrous ideas about the subject. Might upset them into rejecting the entirely wrong, utterly unsocial way. Now, in his own rooms, not in mine, where can he have to go? We'll give him 5 more minutes. If he doesn't turn up by them, well. Hello, speaking? Ford, I'm Fleaver. I'll come at once. What is? I know a fellow at the Park Lane Hospital. The savage is there. Seems to have gone mad. Do you like being slaves? Babies? Millie and puking babies? Oh, brave new world. Don't you want to be free? Don't you even understand what freedom is? Very well then, I'll teach you. Summation distribution. I'll make you free whether you want to be or not. Summation this. I say, what are you? It's poison. Poison to soul as well as body. I come to bring you freedom. It's mad. Freedom. They'll kill him. They'll Ford help him. Ford helps those who help themselves. Free helmsmen. Free. Men at last. Police. My friends, my friends. What is the meaning of this? Why aren't you all being happy and good together? Happy and good at peace, at peace. Oh, I do want you to be happy. I do so want you to be good. Please, please be good and officers of resident controller for Western Europe, his fortship, Mustafa Mond. It's more like a caffeine solution, party than a trial. Cheer up, Bernard. So, you don't much like civilization, Mr. Savage? No. But John, that we do, Mr. Max. Marks. Of course. There are some very nice things, all that music in the air, for instance. Sometimes a thousand twangling instruments will hum about my ears, and sometimes voices. You've read Shakespeare? I thought nobody knew about it here in England. Almost nobody. I'm one of the very few. It's prohibited, you see. But as I make the laws here, I can also break them. With impunity, Mr. Marks, which I'm afraid you can't do. But why is it prohibited? Because it's old. We haven't any use for old things here. Even when they're beautiful. Particularly when they're beautiful. Beauty is attractive, and we don't want people to be attracted by old things. We want them to like new ones. But the new ones are stupid and horrible. Why don't you let them see Othello instead? I've told you, it's old. Besides, they couldn't understand it. Well, that's true. Well, then, why not something like that's like Othello and that they could understand? Because if it were really like Othello, nobody could understand it. However, new it might be, and if it were new, it couldn't possibly be like Othello. Why not? Yes, why not? Because our word is not the same as Othello's word. You can make flavors without stew, and you can make tragedies without social stability. The word's stable now. People are happy. They get what they want, and they never want what they can get. They're well off. They're safe. They never will. They're not afraid of death. They're blissfully ignorant of passion and old age. They're plagued with no mothers or fathers. They've got no spouse or children or lovers to feel strongly about. They're so conditioned that they practically can't help behaving as they ought to behave. And if anything should go wrong, they're summa, which you go and chuck out of the window in the name of liberty, Mr. Savage. Liberty. Expecting Deltas to know what liberty is, and now expecting them to understand Othello. All the same Othello. Good. Of course it is. That's the price we have to pay for stability. If we got to choose between happiness and what people used to call high art, we sacrifice the high art. We have the Phillies and the Sands organ instead. But they don't mean anything. They mean themselves. They mean a lot of agreeable sensations to the audience. But they're told by an idiot. Haha, you are not being very polite to your friend, Mr. Watson, one of our most distinguished emotion engineers. But he's right because it is idiotic writing when there's nothing to say. But that's what requires the most enormous ingenuity. You're making flavors out of the absolute minimum of steel. Works of art, but with works of art out of practically nothing but pure sensation. It all looks pretty horrible to me. Of course it does. Actual happiness always looks pretty squalid in comparison with the overcompensations for misery. Stability isn't nearly so spectacular as instability, and being contented has none of the glamour of good fight against misfortune, none of the picturesqueness of a struggle with temptation or a fatal overthrown by passion of doubt. Happiness is never grand. I suppose not, but need it be quite so bad as those swings? Our Volkanovsky groups are the gyroscope that stabilizes the rocket of state on its unsovereign course. Why have them at all? Why don't you make every one an alpha double plus? Because we don't want to have our throat cut. We believe in happiness and stability. A society of alphas couldn't fail to be unstable and miserable. The Cyprus experiment was convincing. What was that? An experiment in rebottling. In AF 473, the island of Cyprus was cleared of its inhabitants and recolonized with a specially prepared batch of 22,000 alphas. The result exactly fulfilled theoretical expectations. The land wasn't properly worked, there were strikes in all the factories, the laws were set at naught, orders disobeyed. Within 6 years they were having a first-class civil war. The optimum population is molded on the iceberg 8 ninths below the waterline, 1 ninth above. And they're happy below the waterline? Happier than above it, happier than your friends here, for example. 7.5 hours of mild, unexhausting labor, and then the summer ration games in an unrestricted copulation. What more can they ask for? True, they might ask for short hours, but the experiment was tried. The result, social unrest and a large increase in the consumption of soma. Those extra hours of leisure were so far from being a source of happiness that people felt constrained to take a holiday from them. It sheer cruelty to afflict them with excessive leisure. It's the same with agriculture. We could synthesize every morsel of food if we want to, but we prefer to keep a third of the population on the land for their own sakes. That's why we're so chary of applying new inventions. Every discovery in pure science is potentially subversive. That's another eating in the cost of stability. It isn't only art that is incompatible with happiness, it's also science. What, but we're always saying science is everything. It's a hypnopathic platitude. 3 times a week between 13 and 17. Yes, but what sort of science? You had no scientific training, so you can't judge. I was a pretty good physicist in my time, good enough to realize that all our science is just a cookery book. It has a list of recipes that mustn't be added to except by a special permission from the head cook. I'm the head cook now, but I was an inquisitive young scullion once. I started doing a bit of cooking on my own, unorthodox cooking, illicit cooking, a bit of real science in fact. What happened? Verily nearly what's going to happen to you, young man. I was on the point of being sent to an island. Send me to an island? You can't send me. I haven't done anything. It was the others, I swear it was the others. Oh, please don't send me to Iceland. I promise I'll do what I ought to. Give me another chance. Please give me another chance. Send 3 men. You your fortune, please take Mr. Marks into bedroom. Not to Iceland, oh please, your fortune, please give him a good sum of vaporization. Not to Iceland. One would think he was going to have his throat cut. He's being sent to an island, a place where he'll meet the most interesting set of men and women to be found anywhere in the world. All the people who aren't satisfied with orthodox, who have got independent ideas of their own. I almost envy you, Mr. Watson. Then why aren't you an island yourself? Because finally, I prefer this. I chose this and let the science go. I'm interested in truth. I like science, but truth's a menace. Science is a public danger. As dangerous as being beneficent, it has given us a stable equilibrium in history, but we can allow it to undo its own good work. We don't allow it to deal with any but the most immediate problems of the moment. It's curious to read what people in the time of our Ford used to worry about scientific progress. They seem to have imagined that it could be allowed to go indefinitely, indefinitely, regardless of everything else. Knowledge was the highest good, truth the supreme value. Our Ford himself did a great deal to shift the emphasis from truth and beauty to comfort and happiness. Mass production demanded the shift. But it was after the 9 years' war that science first began to be controlled. What's the point of truth or beauty or knowledge when anthrax bombs are popping all around you? People were ready to have even their appetites controlled after that, anything for a quiet life. We've gone on controlling ever since. One can't have something for nothing. Happiness has got to be paid for. You're paying for it, Mr. Watson, because you happen to be too much interested in beauty. I was too much interested in truth. I pay too. But you didn't go to an island. That's how I paid, by choosing to serve happiness, other people's, not mine. It's good. It's a good thing there are so many islands in the world. I don't know what we would do without them, but you all in the little chamber, I suppose. By the way, Mr. Watson, would you like a tropical climate or something more bracing? I should like a truthfully bad climate. I believe one would write better if the climate were bad. If there were a lot of wind and storms, for example. I like your spirit, Mr. Watson. I like it very much indeed, as much as I officially disapprove of it. How about the Falkland Islands? Yes, I think that will do. And now, if you don't mind, I'll go and see how poor Bernard's getting on. art, science, you seem to have paid a fairly high price for your happiness. Anything else? Well, religion, of course. There used to be something called God before the 9 Years' War. It's a subject that has always had a great interest for me. I've got a plenty more, a whole collection of pornography books. God in the safe, Ford on the shelves. The Imitation of Christ, the Holy Bible, the variety of religious experience. If you know about God, why don't you tell them? Why don't you give them these books about God? For the same reason we don't give them Othello. They are old, they are about God hundreds of years ago, not about God now. But God doesn't change. Men do, though. One of the numerous things in heaven and earth that the philosophers didn't dream about was this: us, the modern world. You can only be independent of God while you've got youth and prosperity. Independence won't take you right up to the end. Well, we've now got youth and prosperity right up the end. The religious sentiment will compensate us for all our losses, but there aren't any losses for us to compensate. And why should we go hunting for a substitute for youthful desires when youthful desires never fail? Why seek a substitute for distractions when we go on enjoying all the old fooleries to the very last? What need have we of repose when our minds and bodies continue to delight in activity, of consolation when we have summer, of something immovable when there is the social order? Then you think there is no God? No, I think there is quite probably is one, but he manifests himself in different ways to different peoples. In pre-modern times, he manifests himself as the being that described in these books. How does he manifest himself now? Now he manifests himself as an absence, as though we weren't here at all. That's your fault. Call it faults of the civilization. God isn't compatible with machinery and scientific medicine and universal happiness. You must make your own choice. Our civilization has chosen machinery and medicine and happiness. That's why I have to keep these books locked up in the safe. They're smut. People would be shocked if. But isn't it natural to feel there's God? You might as well ask if it is natural to do up one's trousers with zippers. Be- People believe in God because they've been conditioned to believe in God. But all the same time, it is natural to believe in God when you're all alone, quite alone, in the night, thinking about death. But people are never alone now. We make them hate solitude, and we arrange their lives so that it's almost impossible for them to ever have it. At Malpais, I suffered because I was shut out of common activities. Here I suffer because I cannot escape them. Do you remember that bit in King Lear? The gods are just, and of our pleasant vices make instruments to plague us. The dark and vicious place where the he God caused him in his eyes. And Edmund answers, remember, he's wounded, he's dying, though hasn't spoken right. 'Tis true, the wheel is come full circle, I'm here. Well, that's about that now. Doesn't there seem to be a God managing things, punishing, rewarding? Well, does there? You can indulge in any number of pleasant vices with a free martin, and run no risk of having your eyes put out by your son's mistress. The wheel is come full circle. I am here. But where would Edmund be nowadays? Sitting in a pneumatic chair with his arm round a girl's waist, sucking away at his sex hormone chewing gum and looking at his fillies. The gods are just no doubt. But their code of law is dictated in their last resort by the people who organize society. Providence takes its cue from men. Are you quite sure that the Edmund's that pneumatic chair hasn't been just as heavily punished as the Edmund who's bleeding to death? The gods are just haven't. The gods are just haven't they used his pleasant vices as an instrument to degrade him? Degrade him from what position? As a happy, hard-working, good consuming citizen? He's perfect, of course. If you choose some other standard than ours, then perhaps you might say he was degraded. But you've got to stick to one set of postulates. You can't play electromagnetic golf according to the rules of centrifugal bumble puppy. If you allowed yourselves to think of God, you wouldn't allow yourselves to be degraded by pleasant vices. You would have reason for bearing things patiently, for doing things with courage. You would have a reason for self-denial. You would have reason for chastity. But chastity means passion, and passion means instability, and instability means the end of civilization. Nobly and nobility, and heroism are symptoms of political inefficiency. In a properly organized society, nobody has any opportunities for being noble or heroic. There aren't any wars nowadays. The greatest care is taken to prevent you from loving anyone too much. There's no such thing as a divided allegiance, no temptations to resist, and if ever by some unlucky chance anything unpleasant should somehow happen, why, there's always someone. In the past, it took years of hard moral training to accomplish reconciliation with one's enemies, to accomplish patience. Now, you swallow two or three half-gram tables and there you are. Anybody can be virtuous now. You can carry at least half your morality around in a bottle. Christianity without tears, that's what some is. But the tears are necessary. There is a story one of the old Indians used to tell us about the girls of Matsaki, the young man who wanted to marry her and had to do mornings honing in her garden, hoeing in her garden. It not easy, but there were flies and mosquitoes, magic ones. Most of the young men simply couldn't stand the biting and stinging. But the one that could, he got the girl. Charming. But in civilized countries, you can have girls without hoeing for them, and there aren't any flies or mosquitoes to sting you. We got rid of them all. Yes, just like you, got rid of anything unpleasant instead of learning to put up with. You neither suffer nor oppose. You just abolish the sling and arrows. What you need is something with tears for a change. Nothing costs enough here. Exposing what is immortal, exposing what is mortal, and unsure to all that fortune, death and danger there, even for an eggshell. Isn't there something in that? Isn't there something in living dangerously? There's a great deal to it. Men and women must have their adrenals stimulated from time to time. That's why we've made the VPS treatment compulsory. VPS? Violent Passion Surrogate. Regularly once a month. The complete psychological equivalent of fear and rage. All the tonic effects and murdering the stomach and being murdered by Othello without any of the inconveniences. But I like the inconveniences. We don't. We prefer to do things comfortably. I don't want comfort. I want God. I want poetry. I want real danger. I want freedom. I want godness. I want sin. In fact, you're claiming the right to be unhappy, not to mention the right to grow old and ugly and impotent, the right to have syphilis and cancer, the right to have too little to eat, the right to live in constant apprehension of what may happen tomorrow, the right to be tortured by unspeakable pains of every kind. I claim them all. You're welcome. John, is anything the matter? I say you. I say you do look ill, John. Did you eat something that didn't agree with you? I ate civilization. We are off tomorrow morning. By the way, John, I want to say how sorry I am about what happened, about everything that happened. How ashamed, how really. How Helmholtz was wonderful to me. If it hadn't been for him, I should. Now, I asked if I mightn't go to the islands with you, and he wouldn't let me. He said he wanted to go with the experiment. I'm damned if I'll go on being experimented with. I shall go away tomorrow too, but where? Anywhere, I don't care, so long as I can be alone. Forgive me, make me poor, help me to be good. Forgive me, make me poor, help me to be good. But in lighthouse. What do you want with me? Do with the whip instant. Yes, let's see the whip instant. We want the whip, we want the whip, we want the whip, we want the whip. We want the whip, 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 we want the whip. We want the whip, 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 we want the whip. Ah, chuck, trumpet, Fichu. Henry, help me. Fry lechery, fry on the flesh. Kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. Kill it. Kill it. Chuck, 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 chuck. Kill it. Argy porgy. Chuck, chuck, chuck. Argy porgy. Argy porgy. Argy porgy. Argy porgy. Oh my god. My god. Mr. Savage? Mr. Savage? Mr. Savage? Alright. That was the end. Thank you all.